I found this interesting data about UFO sightings with over 80,000 reports spanning more than 100 years from 1906 all the way to 2014. It's from the Corgis dataset project maintained by Sam Donald, version 100, created on 10/28/2022. So it's got everything, as you can see. The date of the sighting, the city, the state, the country, the shape of the UFO, how long the encounter took, a lot of comments as well, longitude, latitude, and a lot of things. So it's maintained as a CSV file, and I thought it would be interesting to explore this using SQL. So if you want to follow along, which I highly recommend you do, I've linked the location of the CSV file in the description, and you can use the bulk insert to pull this data into a table, which I have done as I have done here. So if you remember, in our lesson on bulk insert, we had shown how you can import the content of a CSV file into a table you have already created in SQL Server. So what I have done here is to create a table following the exact same column format that they've got in the file. And then I have used the bulk insert to pull data into the table. So if you want to follow along, you have to download the CSV file from the link in the description and then point this place to where you have the file located in. One extra thing I had to do was a bunch of cleanups. This data needed quite a few cleanup, like the date columns were in different formats and so on. So I'm going to be adding all of these SQL scripts that I've used to clean up the data, including these ones to try to normalize the date columns, and then this one to try to fill up the places where they haven't mentioned the state, even though they've mentioned the country. So it was easy to derive the country or the state from the information that was there already. I couldn't fill all of the places. As you can see, there are still nulls, but we still have quite an interesting data in our hands. One other thing I did was, if you see in this data, they have the states. I'm primarily more interested in the US states. So if you see, we've got MI, CT. For some of us, we may not know the meanings of these state codes. So what I have done is to generate this list here, which we can use to get a description based on the state codes that they've got here. So you're going to see how we combine our main table, which is UFO sightings, and then this new table called state codes later on, so that we can derive the full description of the state names. So that's it. Once you've done all this, you are ready to start. So some of the questions we are going to be answering today will be: which US state has the most UFO sightings? Which country has got the most UFO sightings? Which city in the US has got the most UFO sightings? What are the top 10 longest UFO encounters? As you can see, we have the duration in seconds here, duration in hours, and minutes here as well. So, but I think we're going to be using, this is more, I found this is more accurate, the duration in seconds. This one was a mixture of a lot of things. So, but you are welcome to try to clean that up as well and use. What is the most common UFO shapes? As you can see, we've got the shapes here. And then what time of the day do UFOs mostly show up? As you can see, in the date time here, we have the date and then we have the time. So without wasting much time, let's start. So the first query, which of the states in the US has the most UFO sightings? So we started off by, this is our main driving table here, the UFO sightings table. So let me bring it up. That's what we are looking at on the screen. But for us to understand this query, I'm going to just bring this here. And then I'm going to bring our state codes table so that we can understand what we did there. So to understand the join, I'm going to try to run this together and then explain what we were doing in the query. So in the join that we have here, the main driving table is our UFO sightings table. and then we are joining it to the state codes. If you see in the UFO sightings table, what we just have is codes for the states. But in the state codes table, we have the state code as well as this full description. So we are joining the two tables on the basis of where they have a connection. The connection is state code in the second table and state in our main table. So that's what we've managed to do here. And then we are only interested in US for now in this report. So I have said here where US, where the country is equal to US. And the reason why I have done upper is because to make sure, I don't know, there could be a mixture of upper, lowercase in this column. And then there is what we call case sensitive matching and case insensitive matching. If there is a mixture in some flavors of SQL, you might have a situation where US in small letter will not be equal to US in capital letter. So to avoid that kind of situation, I've made both sides to be uppercase before doing the matching. So, and then of course, because we are doing one of the aggregate functions, one of the functions, aggregate functions here, we've got to group by. So to go on, let's just run the query so that we can see the results and then we can understand it better. As you can see, California is the state with the highest number of UFO sightings. Why do we think that is? And by the way, where is Area 51 in the US? Does anybody know? Please put down in the comment section there. Is Area 51 in California? I don't know. Perhaps that's why it's got the highest number of UFO sightings. And then look at Washington is second. And California is like 2 times more than the sightings we have in Washington. Oh, that's very shocking. Anyway, I thought all the aliens would be in Washington, the capital. So anyway, put your comments in the comment section. Okay, let's go on. The next query is, as you can see, this data is not only US. So we've got country there as well. So we've got GB for Great Britain and many other countries are there. So this next query is for us to now check. Is it only in the US that UFOs land? This query will let us know. So what we have done, if you see, we've introduced a new function there called isNull. The isNull is like an if. What we are saying essentially here is when you look at the country column, if you encounter a null, like in that case, change it to unknown instead of just telling me null. So the isNull will test a column, and if it finds a null, it will put whatever you've told it here. In my case, I want countries that are null to be shown as unknown. And then we're still doing our aggregation, counting, and then you've got to group by whatever the column to be displayed is. So, and then we are ordering in descending order. So let's see top 10 countries that have the most. US again. How come it's only in the US that UFOs land? Where is Africa? In fact, we have this other query here where we have segregated between US and then the rest of the world. Okay, so if you see this case statement here, we have said if it's US, then let it be United States. Every other country, then let it be the rest of the world. And this will include all of the unknowns. So it's very much like that one. And then we are doing a bit of percentage here as well, just to see how many percent of the sightings are in the US. So if we do this, whoa, 92% of UFO sightings happen in the US. What's the meaning of that? I don't know. what the aliens see in the US. Then the rest of the world. US has got in this data, and let me tell you, this data is quite old. This data doesn't include the rest of the world. This is purely for entertainment purposes. So please don't take this as the 100% truth. This is just an educational entertainment exercise. So, but based on this data, 92% of UFO sightings happen in the US. I don't know what that means. The rest of the world has got only 7%. I don't think this is accurate. It might be as well. Who knows? So, but let's move on to the next query. What is the most haunted city in US in terms of UFO sightings? What city do they visit mostly when they come in? So the query is quite straightforward again. So we're doing a count against sightings, and then we are grouping by city and state. So let's see. Seattle is the highest. Vegas is up there as well. Vegas is up there as well. So, and then Miami is down there. I thought Miami would be up there somewhere. I don't know. Put your comments there. Los Angeles is in the middle. Okay. Anyway, so that's that one. We go to the next query. What is that one single day when the highest number of sightings happened? So this one is a bit, I need to explain what's been done here. If you look at here, for me to explain that, I'm going to bring in our table and then try to explain it while we are looking at the query. So if we go this way, you would see that we are trying to find, based on this date here, the most recurring date. So if you see this date, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's more than 10 characters. But if you see all of the dates end at the 10th character, so if you count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, that is 6, and then 1949 completes it to be 10. So what this query is doing is the substring function will allow you to take a slice out of a string. So what we are saying is, starting from position 1, move 10 places. In fact, this means take the first 10 characters out of this column. So in that way, we're able to get all of the dates. We excluded the time section of it. So using that, we are doing a count, and we are also grouping by that. So you're going to find the most recurring date in that way. So if we do this, we will see that it is 04 July, 4th of July, 2010. It's 4th of July, not the Independence Day. So that's the day the aliens come. What are they coming to look at on the Independence Day of US? That's weird. If you know, put in the comment as well. So that's the day the aliens visit the US the most, on Independence Day. That's weird. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. Now, find the 10 longest reported encounters. Okay, so if you look at the data again, we have duration in seconds, how long the encounter took. So what is the longest single reported duration in seconds that somebody encountered an alien? So if you see, the query is pretty much straightforward. But one thing we have done here is to break the duration. It's in seconds. So divided by 360 will give us duration in hours. So let's run this. So it happened in Buckingham, UK, England. In England. For that much, that's too much. 27,000 hours. This must be, that's a lot. I doubt this data is correct. Look at that. This is one of those things. I think this data was scraped from somewhere, and there could have been errors in it. So I don't really trust this data. But going purely by what we have, the longest encounter happened in Birmingham, in UK, England. So where is US here? Oh, US is third. Greenbrier. Orbs of light multiplying. Okay. Well, that's it for you. That's a long time. What were the aliens doing? It must have been years. Okay. Let's move on to the next query. What is the most common UFO shape? This one is interesting because we always been told that they come in flying saucers and so on. So, but this query is going to show up that we have different shapes that they come with. So if you remember in the data, let me just run the query again. The reports all have the shape. So we've got different shapes. So it looks like aliens come in something different. It's not always a flying saucer. So if we run this query, duration in seconds. Okay, I think what I was trying to do here is to remove those durations that we think are not very good, but I'm going to just comment that out. The only thing I'm going to leave here is, let me just make sure that all of the shapes we are going to get, I'll comment this out for a second. Where shape is not null, I don't need the, otherwise I've got to put that code where we did unknown. So we don't want the ones that are blank, we don't want the ones that are null. So let us try to run and see. This is the top 10 shapes that aliens appear in. As a light, as a triangle, where is flying saucer? As a sphere, as a disc, these are all flying saucer shapes. But as a light first, how do you know a light is a UFO? Well, if you go by the definition, unidentified flying object, yeah, of course. As a formation, yeah, a group of stuff flying. And then unknown here. Order, I wonder what order is. As a fireball, oh, that would be scary. Okay, now you see it. Those are the most common shapes. It's not always a flying saucer. It could be a ball of light or fire. And so that's it. You could download this data. I'm sure there are much more insights that we can pull out of it. So if you've done any kind of experiments with the data, maybe you can come back and comment. And that will be the end of today's lesson. In future, we are going to be looking at much more interesting data so that we can pull out insights using SQL. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe